Hello and welcome to an well, we're going to be editing that out.
I was still drinking right now.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Molten Truth. This is Zoey Michaels, and I am so pleased to have you join us today as we interview our guest, Sandy Malone. Sandy has a book series that sounds like an amazing time just reading real stories, and it's kind of a beach read, but also just I think would be a great gift for people who are either getting married, involved in weddings, or whatever the case. But I'm going to let Sandy tell you a little bit about herself and maybe share her website. Welcome, Sandy.
Well, so I don't forget, it's sandymalone.com.
I like
and
it.
There's all my books are available, and there's information about me. But hello, and thank you so much for having me today, Zoey. I really appreciate it.
Glad to have you. I mean, I had so much fun just chatting with you before we got started that I wish our audience could have been with us for that part of the fly on the wall conversation. But I'm telling you, my mind's going, "Woo! What a great story idea! Potential."
Yeah. I'll tell you something. Living here on Jekyll Island, it's just right off the coast of Georgia, as I was telling you, little bitty island. It is a small town, cozy mystery dream to write about.
Yeah.
I mean, we have all the strange, and if we don't, the tourists will bring it in for us. But when you write about weddings, it's a whole nother level. And as I was telling you, I wrote 5 books. The first one is Escape to Jekyll Island in the Gem of the Golden Mile series. The main character, her name is Tally Davis. She's a young wedding planner who lost her job in the Caribbean because of Hurricane Maria.
Okay, I see the connection.
And it's not autobiographical. I just draw from my own experience.
Yes.
And she comes home to Jekyll Island, Georgia, where she grew up. And she thinks she's going to spend a couple months sitting on the couch, working on her resume, licking her wounds. And instead, her aunt comes home and says, "Get off your butt. There is no wedding planner here on Jekyll right now. Go start a company." So she does. And she picks up a couple of good clients. And things are starting to go well. And she starts reconnecting with childhood friends in the area and making a life there. And one of the childhood friends she reconnects with is now a smoking hot state trooper. So things are going well, and then suddenly strange things start happening. Spoiler alert, there are 5 books. She survives the first one. But there's a couple things. It's not really a romance, although there's romance in the series. But I think because the main character is a wedding planner, it gets buttonholed as romance. It's not. Her business stories are hilarious. It's rom-com because they are my real life. These are real weddings I did. I planned more than 500 weddings on Jekyll Island in the Caribbean and in little areas around there. And everything I wrote about in all 5 of the books in the Gem of the Golden Mile series are true stories about just crazy things clients of mine did. And but they're all fictionalized to protect the guilty. I'm not looking to publicly embarrass anybody. Nobody and their wedding guests. I haven't gotten called on anybody recognizing themselves yet.
That's good.
But I remember them all in vivid detail. And sitting to type them and share them, I promise you, I giggled. Book 2, I laughed the most. Like, my favorite ridiculous stories.
I love that. That's so great. And why not? You lived it. You've experienced it. You saw all this happening. How wonderful that you get to fictionalize it and share with people. Like you said, you changed the names, but kept the true story.
Well, also, my husband and I starred in a reality TV show called Wedding Island on TLC, and it was about our company. It was filmed on Jekyll Island like 10 years ago, and it was called Wedding Island. And what I always tell people is it streams for free on like TV and all the Discovery things. Go watch it after you read the first book or 2, because you hear all about Hurricane Maria and her having to evacuate. I mean, that's all a very real story. As we weren't there when the storm hit, but we helped coordinate evacuations for all the people who were trapped afterwards. And we had a lot of very good friends who lived through it. And it's the coolest thing because when you read it and then you watch Wedding Island, the ridiculous, you're like, oh my God, she doesn't make up anything in the book. Like, you can't make up the things these people do. There's one bride on the TV show who literally didn't finish writing her vows until 15 minutes after she was supposed to go down the aisle. But the best part was her on the TV show over and over again wailing about, I have to write my vows.
Oh,
And just in case you didn't catch it, TLC gave her caption.
yes, I caught that. Vowels.
Vowels. And you can't make it up.
No.
But you also, I mean, ethically, you also can't publicly embarrass the people.
Well,
The ones on the reality show, they embarrass themselves. I'm not on, whatever they did there, that was their own stuff. But if you had your wedding and you hired me to plan it and your family is atrocious, it's not your fault. And if you're a horrible bride, it's not your guest's fault. So I wrote it in a way so that nobody has to worry about that.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a funny for you.
Okay.
One bride was so awful.
Mm-hmm.
She's 4 different brides in the books.
Wow.
Because nobody would have believed that the same bride would do this and this and this. It would have made the story unbelievable, even though it was completely true.
Wow.
She sent me flowers after she read one of the books and was just raving about how fantastic. And all I could think was, how many brides do you think ever asked me to come across the island to rub aloe on their shoulders at midnight?
I can't believe that anyone would ever think to do that.
She didn't recognize herself. Wow. Either that or the flowers were an apology for having me do that.
Let's hope that the flowers were an apology. Let's hope that was the case.
Hold on. I know this will shock you. They're divorced now. But yeah, it was a heck of a wedding weekend. And we joke because the first few years of planning weddings, on Sundays, when tear down and cleanup were done, if we didn't have big event on Sunday, farewell event, we'd look at our staff and be like, meet you at the beach in 30 minutes, right? And after doing 10 years of them, on Sundays, my husband and I would lay in the air conditioning. Mm-hmm. And instead of being like, my feet hurt, we would just talk about what didn't hurt. Like, hey, my hair feels pretty good.
Oh boy.
My ears don't hurt. It was hard. It was a hard job, but it was a lot of fun. And I take all the things that made me giggle and I'm sharing them with readers. And there is mystery and suspense in every one of the books. There's a mystery storyline, and it's interesting how it develops through the series. It becomes more serious in each of the books. But also, Tally's falling for a state trooper. And being a cop wife is a very different thing than being a partner to anybody else. Mm-hmm. Any first responder, I would say, because I think it's probably very much the same as firefighters' wives. It's not just cops and military when they're deployed. Right. And it's, when they go to work, you truly have to worry. And it's a different kind of life and things do happen. And so it's not a story that's told very often. Except for when it's written by cop or wives of fallen officers.
Right.
And so I'm a cop wife. I was editor of the Police Tribune and Blue Lives Matter for 8 years. I'm a subject matter expert on that as well as weddings. So I am using it to my advantage and working that storyline in about what it's like to be part of a police family where multiple people are law enforcement officers. Yeah. And I think it's a fun read on a lot of different levels.
Sure. A lot of people could connect with it for different reasons, it sounds like.
Yes. And then everybody's been to a wedding. And I used to tell people, before I started writing books, read Diary of a Mad Bride. You will laugh so hard, and you will laugh at yourself or in other brides or your awful daughter. You will laugh. Now I have to say, read my books, because it's the same thing. It's like how to avoid PTSD at the wedding. Just read this, realize brides are crazy. Some of the grooms are nuts. Everybody's got an Uncle Charlie and an Aunt Mary. There's one at every wedding. He is overly friendly with the staff and drunk. She always wanted to be a wedding planner and tries to tell everybody what to do. And we have this at every wedding.
Yeah.
But it's so neat to, I mean, I don't know. We're still good friends with a lot of the brides and grooms whose weddings we've planned. And it's a lot of fun to write stories that I know people will laugh so hard at, but they're real. I mean, in book 2, there's a client who the groom and the bride and groom split up, but she wants to keep the house she leased because they have 18 months before the wedding date, and she's pretty sure she can find another groom. And that is a true story. That happened.
Wow.
In my book, I have her show up again looking for a job working for the company on Jekyll. That didn't happen. But the part about we let her rebook with another groom, and when that one fell apart, I was like, okay, that's enough. We're crossing into the weird zone, and I don't wish to be there.
Yep.
I told her she should look into wedding planning if she enjoyed planning parties so much. Otherwise, call me when she had a real groom.
I like the approach. That's very yeah.
I understood 100%.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I wasn't there just to entertain her.
No, but I like that. Come join the business, or let me help you find a job planning this, and otherwise, see you next time you're engaged.
We cannot just plan your wedding for all eternity, regardless of how much fun it seems like it might
be. You make me rethink the idea of a marriage license. I usually think marriage license the typical, let's make sure that there's no weird things in the lineage kind of thing. But I think, imagine a world where the purpose of a marriage license was that, hey, I'm going to be going a little loopy crazy, and this is my license for a period of time that this is allowable. Not necessarily excusable, but I'm allowed because I have this license to do that. But then it expires, and then you have to go back to sane.
My husband and I frequently told grooms who were just, because sometimes some would come and do a planning trip on the island, and then some didn't. They did it all virtually, and I helped them with all that. But if they came in person, it was not uncommon for, at some point when we were out to lunch with them or something, the bride would go use the restroom, we'd be alone with the groom. And he'd be like, and he'd look at my husband, he'd be like, how long does it last? How long are they like? And my husband is such a good sport, but he also managed, he was a cop for 30 years, and he never shot anybody. So that means he's pretty calm. And he's like, okay, dude, it's just going to keep getting worse. 2 weeks before your wedding date, he's like, picture you're on like a horse-drawn carriage and it's going full speed, but no one is holding the reins. And that is what the last 2 weeks before your wedding are going to feel like. Just do what she tells you to do. Don't ask a whole lot of questions. Soon as you get married, the carriage stops. And it's the truth. Like, not all brides are absolutely horrible. Some of them are absolutely amazing. Some of them, it's the groom.
Yep.
And sometimes there's like a crazy parent in the mix.
True.
And sometimes wedding planning is easy as peasy. And then they all arrive and you find out the family is crazy. I had a mother of the bride who mailed me her pillows.
Okay.
You are coming to a Caribbean island for a wedding. You're going to be there for 5 days. And you ship, I think they were either Ralph Lauren or Laura Ashley, and there's some expensive bed pillows. And she shipped a ton of them down because she needed 6 pillows. And you just think with all the things you have to do in life, she was a nurse. I don't think she was retired yet at the time. All the things you have to do in life, you're going to be here for 4 nights and you need your specific 6 pillows.
Well, and I'm wondering, are these her 6 travel pillows, and she has regular pillows at home?
She shipped brand new. I think it was Bed Bath & Beyond or something. But she didn't take them back with her. She gave them to me. I swear to God, I was still sleeping on one of them till not long ago. They were nicer than my pillows. I was happy to keep them and give them a home.
So they were kind of the tip.
Well, that's not. She actually gave me a good tip. She was a nice lady.
Well, that's good.
But it was just some of the people. She also, this was the same lady who, when she arrived, she pulls out this piece of paper. And my husband likes to tell this story. I never really think about it, but since we're talking about her pillows, she pulls it out. And I'm like, it's this medical thing. And she's like, this is my cardiac such and such. It is not good. But I wear this and this, and my watch connects to my doctor's office, and blah, blah, blah. And if the following happens, these are the numbers to call. This is my health insurance. This is my Medijet to get home. Don't you have a husband? Somebody else who needs to know these things.
Yeah.
I do not do medical things for your safety.
Yeah.
I'm a wedding planner. I mean, some of them are just, I mean, we had a lot of crazy, but we had a lot of fun. And some of the crazy ones, I mean, we had a groom who wanted a shark and a monkey at his wedding. I had a bartender named Monkey. And he was a good sported guy named Monkey who, anyway, Monkey worked the bar, and we got one of our guys to wear one of those giant Katy Perry shark suits.
I was wondering, like, how are you going to pull off this shark thing?
I am standing, they got married on the beach, and then I had him, or they got married, I don't know, we had him at the entrance of the reception.
Mm-hmm.
As they came into the villa, the door was opened by the shark. There was a shark and there was a monkey, and we are still friends with Matt and Jana Lee. They live in Nebraska. So, but we had a lot of like silly, fun requests that were, they sound ridiculous, but this groom didn't ask for anything else. He didn't have any particular opinions. All he wanted was a shark and a monkey.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing you were in charge, because I would have gone cartoon, and I would have been like Jabberjaws and Gleek.
A staff member named Monkey. I mean, it just happened. We could have had a staff member named Shark, and I would have had somebody in a monkey suit.
Amazing. Oh boy. So you spent X amount of years down in the Caribbean, and then you had to evacuate. Now, we had talked beforehand. I had never even heard of Jekyll Island. Did not realize it was a real place, and it's about 2 hours below Hilton Head near Savannah. So, I mean, this is like this hidden treasure in southern Georgia.
It is, and we are a tiny little island, 7 miles by 1 mile wide, and it's a historical island. The whole island is a state park, so anybody can come here now. But it started out in the 1800s when the super wealthy built the Jekyll Club here on the island. And it started out as a winter getaway and a hunting club for the Astors, the Rockefellers, the Pulitzers, so many of the people who built America, and the financial people who built America, let me be specific. And as the club grew, they started building individual homes because there were too many people hanging out by the fireplace in the lobby, so to speak. You want to hang out with the hoi polloi, right? Right. So there's the Goodyear Villa and the Rockefeller Villa, and that's not the names of them. They have names, but they are absolutely spectacular homes, and they've all been brought back. Some of them are still being restored, but most of them have been brought back to their original beauty, and they're really neat because most of them don't have kitchens because they didn't eat in their homes. They went up to the club for their meals and ate in the grand dining room. And it is such a special place, but several really cool things happened here. Well, really cool depending on how you feel about it, but the Federal Reserve Act was created here in the dark of night by the famous men who did that, and they were all allegedly on a hunting trip, and they all came down on trains, and it was all super sneaky. And, you know, I got to do part of a book signing in the Federal Reserve Room where it was created this fall. Cool. Launch of the Pulitzer Room there. How much fun is that? So, that it's anyway, so they had this like magical wonderland on this little island off the coast of Georgia. And when World War II happened, the U-boats were going up and down the coast, and that's how we got the intercoastal waterway. The intercoastal waterway was a way to get merchandise up and down the coast and things to people that they needed, goods, without the U-boats blowing them up. And at the time, 1/6 of the world's wealth was gathered on Jekyll Island at the Jekyll Club. And they were advised, you gentlemen and your families should not be here. You know, you need to evacuate. So I guess they hopped on trains. They used to come in on their yachts. I don't think that would have been a good time to evacuate that way.
No.
And away they went. And at the time, there was no causeway or bridge to Jekyll. You had to take a boat to get here. So they evacuated. They went home. And when the military came in, just like it did on St. Simon's Island, and then set up during World War II, in little bits. And then when the war was over and the millionaires thought they would come back, and some of the caretakers had stayed on the island at these big properties, the governor of Georgia handed them a check and said, "Congratulations, we have taken the island by eminent domain. It is now a state park." And for a number of years, they allowed the hotel to fall a bit into disrepair, but it's all been restored now.
Yeah.
The mansions have been restored. I mean, there's still a few that are being finished, but the whole thing is just this incredibly beautiful historic gem. And it's quiet here. The top speed limit's maybe 35 in one section, but it's mostly 25. We don't have any stoplights. We have one traffic circle, and the animals have right of way. Alligators, deer. There was a possum walking up the middle of my lane the other night. Like, yeah, I know you have to go around me. Black and tan coonhound, and he doesn't chase anything. It's
Because
like
he knows they have the right, huh?
Well, it's like we moved here and they were like, "Let me explain, city boy. We were here first."
Have you met Holly Gutwilliger? Have you met her yet?
No.
No, she would love that story, and she writes books about animals. I can just picture her what she would do with that story.
I have to tell her about George Jekyll. He was this really fat raccoon that used to hang out in our backyard.
Yep.
When we first we have a guest house in the backyard, and it was here when we got here. And when we first got here, the backyard was just overgrown and insane because the people who owned the house were elderly, and they hadn't used the guest house in years. They'd just been renting out the main house because they were too old to come down. So once we beat back what was in the backyard and got things cleared out, we noticed there was this one raccoon who had come, and he would lean on this big tree about halfway through the yard, and he would put his elbow out and like lean on the tree and give us stink eye, and we didn't know why. And the dog was giving him stink eye, but they weren't really barking at each other. And we realized he's probably like, "Dude, it's an Airbnb. When are you leaving?" Nobody told George that we had bought the house. So this went on for a couple of weeks. We'd see him out there at least once a day. Like, are they gone yet? And then, horror of horrors, we put up a fence. Well, remember I said he is a big raccoon.
Right.
He's been over a couple of times, but he is too wide to come between the bars of the fence. And now, if he sees, well, I haven't seen him in a while, but he would stop and give me a dirty look.
I love this story. I'm so picturing a cartoon raccoon in my head at a bar, hanging out, watching, just having the attitude. And
well, I get a call from my across the street neighbor, Susan. Susan's in all my books. She's a real person. She's a hoot. I get a call from her. She's like, "Sandy, what are you doing?" "Working." She said, "There's an alligator in my front yard." "How big?" Because the last alligator Susan had was like this big. And it looked like it was hanging out with her doorstop. You know those dachshunds you scrape your feet on by the front door? There was this little alligator sitting next to it like he was looking for a friend. So I'm like, "Susan's got another alligator." No, she's like, "Sandy, it's a big one." Okay, I'm curious now, right? Because we haven't lived here that long. I'm so excited about alligators. So I get my phone, I go out. There's quite a few neighbors out there now. Because the alligator had come out of the marsh. It's mating season. Sometimes they have to cross the street to get to visit somebody.
Yeah.
And he got confused coming back because some of us are rude and we have fences. And so he was required to walk down several houses to find a house without a fence. And then he went right back to the marsh. I mean, he was not interested in having anything to do with us. But he went all the way up on our friend across the street, Nikki's front porch. Like all the way up, and was standing at the front door like he had rung the bell and was waiting for somebody to answer. And I got the best picture. And she was in Europe on business, and I posted it to Facebook and was like, "Nikki, you have visitors." She's like, "Wait a minute, that's my house." That's what I said. Anyway, he eventually made his way down a couple of doors to where there wasn't a fence, and he went back. And we've never had an alligator bite. And they said we had a shark bite, but we didn't. If you pull a shark into your fishing boat
Mhm.
and you try to get your favorite hook back, that is not a shark bite. That is a Darwin moment.
Yes, I can't disagree. That's an incredibly stupid thing to even try.
Yeah, if you leave the alligators and the sharks alone,
They'll leave you alone.
yeah. And here it's the
Yeah.
law.
Yeah. That's what I'm picturing in my head. You mentioned Darwin. I'm picturing a comedian, Bill Engvall, the whole "here's your sign."
Okay, you know those bird feeders that they sell that have a thing on the bottom that spins in a circle and throws a squirrel across the yard if they try it?
Yes.
I want one, and my husband won't let me have one. He says it would be mean and they might break windows. But we
You
just
might
put
have
a
a point.
screened-in porch on the back of the house, and I had been leaving them alone when they attacked my bird feeder. I had not gotten aggressive. And I was away doing book tours. I went up to New Hampshire for the New England Book Ball, which was, by the way, so much fun. And then, and I did Authors Rock Roanoke and a couple other things. And we come back, and the squirrels have broken in through the screens and had a rave on my porch. And I was nice. And now it's war.
Sounds like you need to hire George the raccoon as a bouncer to kick them out.
No, are you kidding? They're all in cahoots. They know that all they got to do is march up in their little animal like t-shirts they put on when they're angry, present a written complaint to the Jekyll Island Authority, and the resident would be in trouble. You do not want to make the animals angry here.
So it's like the animal mafia kind of a thing.
Yeah, and the phone number to call if you have an alligator in your yard or you see an idiot doing something they shouldn't be doing, we call it the wildlife snitch line.
If animals could actually talk, ooh boy.
And Ranger Ray and his team respond to it. I mean, they're great. We love them. Like, where else can you call and be like, I have an alligator on my porch that I don't want to get to know better. Please come get your alligator.
So do any of these animals ever sneak their way into your stories as you're telling these stories about these brides and such? Because
I haven't. I mean, I mentioned the fact there's alligators because you can go to Horton Pond and look at the alligators. And we have these incredible dolphin tours. Captain Phillip does these tours. They're pontoon boats. And it goes up and down the river, and you frequently see all kinds of different things.
yeah.
But and you'll run, when I say run into them on the road, you will stop and you will yield and you will wait until the alligator finishes crossing the road. So there's an alligator, his name is Striker, and he's got girlfriends on like a couple parts of the traffic circle. So during certain times of the year, he would cross the traffic circle multiple times. And it happens to be near the one and only gas station and fast food restaurant on the islands, the Dairy Queen. And so people are known to come out and watch if you hear Stryker and his girlfriend bellowing, because he usually cuts across the traffic circle. Yeah. And everybody knows you just stop and let the alligator go. Everybody except Florida woman. Now, you know how you always see Florida man did such and such in the news, and it's all... Everybody knows you just let that alligator keep walking. And this woman didn't think he was walking fast enough, and she got out and started hitting him with her purse. Yes.
Oh, so, my goodness.
It happened before I moved here, but it is a story that is told. And so allegedly, Stryker was like mad, so he just sat there. And for hours, he didn't move. And so state troopers just shut down the traffic. And I believe she was cited. God knows for what. They just should have fed her to Stryker. But, you know, I understand people in Georgia keep pool noodles inside the front door to, like, poke things away when they open the front door in the morning. We don't do that, okay? The alligators are not randomly waiting for us. There's some manners here in Georgia.
Except for that one that was waiting for your friend who was in Europe. The one at the front door. Exception to every rule, right?
Yes.
But yeah, generally speaking, they're waiting to pounce on you.
Not a bit. We also have the most sea turtle nests on the eastern seaboard. And the Georgia Sea Turtle Center is based here. And that's actually, we'd come here on vacation years before because my husband and I have a fascination with historic hotels.
Yeah.
And then we were looking to move down here. My mom was in Jacksonville and she had Alzheimer's. And we were going to need to be closer, but my stepdad was ill and he was in hospice. So mom was not moving. And so we ended up coming down here. And when we hadn't found it yet, we came on vacation with friends and they were coming out from Montana. And she said, I want to see sea turtles. I was like, girl, got to go to the Caribbean for a guarantee. But they do have the Sea Turtle Center here, and they have, you know, guided walks and hikes and checking the nests and things like that. This is the place. So I did all the research, and then I called and spoke with a biologist at the Georgia Sea Turtle Center here. And I asked, what do you think? You know, I know you can't give me a when to come, but she's coming all the way from Montana. What is our best chance? And they were like, August, later August. She saw turtles almost every morning and evening we were here. Nests were, it was just amazing. And it was, I don't know, a good sign. And she kept saying, why aren't you guys looking for houses here? I said, very hard to get a house here, you know, and I didn't think we would be lucky enough to be able to afford a house here. But the right house was available when we started looking, and we had to gut it. I mean, we had to do a lot of work. It was built in 1970, and that's the last time somebody changed something in it. But it is incredible here. And the level of creativity that I feel, I really wish I didn't have to do anything except write all day long. I would like to sit out on my sun porch. And you know what? If I sat out there, I don't think the squirrels would dare to have raids on my porch. And I would write all day long. But unfortunately, as you well know, being an author has many more layers than just the writing to it. That's
so true. So true. Yeah. I don't think people realize that we don't get to just write and that be our job. We have other work we have to do to support our love of writing.
Yeah. And my finest wish is to be of the level of success where I can afford to pay somebody to do those things, so I can sit and write all day.
Right there with you.
Yeah.
That may be editing and other stuff for me as well, because I love the creative part, but now let's go back and, you know, look at it for the critical eye and fine tune it. I
don't mind that because I was patience. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on either.
No.
I was an editor for a long time. So it makes me a very, very clean writer.
Nice.
And the way that I write every day when I sit down to write, I go back to what I wrote the day before and start there with a very heavy edit. So I end up with a pretty clean document when I get to the end of it. I don't mind the editing. I mind the marketing.
Yes, that is for me worse than the editing.
For sure.
You know, I just want to hide myself in my house with my dog and cats and be done with it.
The first time I had to deliver books to a shop on the island, it was at the big the gift shop in the Mosaic Museum. And my books had just arrived, and my husband was all excited, and we drove them over, and I couldn't get out of the car. I sat there and cried. Because it feels like you're stark naked walking through the lobby. It's horrible. It's scary. And I mean, I'm grateful for every book signing opportunity I'm offered and every book event where I have a table. I'm grateful. I love to do it. But I'm not going to lie, I'm scared to death right up until things start going well. And they always do. There's no reason to worry. And if something goes wrong, you're surrounded by other authors who've been in the same boat and know what you need to do. It shouldn't be scary, but it is.
I get you.
It's like putting your heart on your sleeve.
Yep. So I haven't gotten to that level where I've done book signings yet. I know that's in my future at some point, but so is it a group thing then? Are there multiple authors there for book signings?
No, it depends. My first book signings, I would say like the first 30 I did were all at stores or museums or arts associations, that kind of stuff, where I was the only author signing.
Okay.
Because
that's what I was expecting.
Books 1, 2, and 3 were coming out. But what I discovered over the past couple of years are some really fantastic book events. And I don't know when they all started happening. I just know that these did not exist when I was in my 20s and would have loved to attend them as a reader.
Mhm.
But like this Authors Rock Roanoke thing that I went to a couple weeks ago in Roanoke, Virginia,
Yeah.
it was a couple days of real opportunities for authors to network and then for readers to meet authors. Now, I've done over the past couple of years a few crazy ones and a lot of really well-run ones. I'm not going to say which were which, but I mean, up and down, actually, I say all over the US, but kind of all over the US, mostly on the eastern side of the US. And there are book events on a regular basis. The New England Book Ball, Zoe, you should do it next year. The New England Book Ball is in New Hampshire. This year it was at the Mountain View Grand, which is a really pretty historic hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Next year it's at the Omni Mount Washington, which is super famous. It was under renovation this year, and that's why they couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much fun, and everybody was in costume for the ball, and everybody was dancing. I mean, people were really up there dancing and having a great time.
Nice.
And that was an opportunity for readers and authors who had met each other at the book fair to like have a great time, be silly. No one's required to go, but I was really happy to see everybody there. And just so much fun. And then the readers that come to read these things, these book events, where you have like somewhere between 50 and 100 authors usually.
Yeah.
Some of these girls, they have the most elaborate little carts that they pull their books around in.
Wow.
And like some of them have personal limits where when they get to the full cart, they have to stop. Some of them go out and empty it into their car and come back.
Wow.
And it is neat. And I met people who drove from far away, not to see me, unfortunately, like to see some of the other big author names that were there. But, you know, there were people in New Hampshire who had driven hours and hours from other places. And I thought, how incredibly cool is this?
Right.
So I think those book events are neat. I did the Nevermore book ball in Tybee Island, just by Savannah, last year, and that was super fun. There's one coming up called Feel the Heat Savannah that I'm not going to be able to do, but I've got a grandson getting married this summer, and so there's also bridal showers and activities and things coming up,
and more inspiration for future books.
It would have to be something like outrageous done by somebody who wasn't a loved one of the bride or groom.
Yes.
Because I don't want to hurt people.
No, that's understandable.
I want it, but I want to be funny. You know, don't think I won't file it away for 5 years from now.
There you go. Exactly.
You know which book I want to write? I want to write one, and here's my title. Okay, I'm claiming this: Wedding Confidential. And the premise is, your wedding planner does not have to honor your confidentiality. Ooh. She's not an attorney. We're not doctors. We're not attorneys. What makes you think we can't tell the entire world what a jackass you behave like? Pardon my language, but there is no confidentiality clause in wedding planning.
Right.
So I just think it would be fun one day to write a story about like a wedding planner to the rich and famous who like has it up to here and goes gossip girl.
I like it, like a wedding tell-all.
Exactly. Remember when Primary Colors came out and it was about the Clinton campaign and it was written by Anonymous and it was this big dun dun dun. And it was a long time before they found out who it was, unless you worked in DC, in which case you knew it was obviously somebody who knew the Clinton campaign.
Right.
And I'm, who is the wedding planner releasing all the secrets?
I look forward to you doing that book, along with the other one I think you still should do that you haven't committed to, but I think you should.
I don't always want to write weddings.
Yeah.
I have some other stories in me.
I get you. I get that. That's why I don't stick with any one specific genre, because I have so many ideas in so many different directions, and I don't want to be pigeonholed in one spot. Why should we have to be pigeonholed in one spot?
Coming out this fall called Thicker Than Blood. That is not a part of the series that I wrote. I've got another series related to that one coming out late summer. Nice. And Thicker Than Blood is about a patriarchal family where money and influence are what drive all the motivations. And they use exclusion as their, favorite method of getting what they want. Mm-hmm. And the story is told through the eyes of 3 generations of women in the family. And, as you look at it over a 100-year period, so to speak. I don't think it's even that many years. I'd have to think, but over 3 lifetimes of what did they experience, and how does the cycle continue. And I recently lost my mom to Alzheimer's. And actually, I didn't lose her to Alzheimer's. I lost her to random brain tumors that popped up. She had Alzheimer's, but my grandmother died of Alzheimer's, and my mom hadn't forgotten who I was yet. She wasn't, we had just gotten back from a cruise with her, so it was shocking. But I have lived through it with my grandmother, with my great aunt, with my mom, and so it's a fictional novel, fictional family, but I tried to tell the story through the eyes of women that were going through this experience.
Yeah.
So that is due out this fall, and it's very different. But I wanted, like you said, if I want to write something different, I want to write something different. And it was something that I wanted to write.
I'm glad you're making it a point now. Have you finished the book? Are you in the editing process? So this is out this
done,
fall.
and it's back from the editors. I have to go through and make decisions, some judgment calls on edits, and then it goes to the proofreaders. So it's done, and I think we're releasing it this fall because who knew? That's when dark family stories do well.
Imagine that.
Hey, that's what they tell me, right? And they're experts, and I'm not.
Well,
but I'm excited. I mean, it's different. I have always been, and I don't know, there's some people that will just roll their eyes, but I've always been a fan of V.C. Andrews, more the early stuff. I mean, the last 15 years, it's not V.C. Andrews actually writing, but the things that were actually written by V.C. Andrews, I have been a big fan of. And I can totally still picture the cover of Flowers in the Attic. And that's how I think of this book. It's sort of like the dark, evil mansion, what lurks within. And I think those family stories are intriguing.
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing what kind of craziness goes on in one family.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah. We all have some kind of crazy thing out there that, thank goodness, maybe a book wasn't written, or maybe it's only a matter of time before a book is written about it.
Well, it's a families. Again, it goes back to kind of weddings. We would see stuff that was just, like, wow, did they really just do that? And it's amazing. We had a bride whose father died. And I'm not laughing, but kind of laughing because it was such a weird weekend. We call it Weekend at Bernie's because her father was killed because he got run over by a trash truck, putting out the trash right before he left to the airport.
My goodness.
The bride and groom had arrived with all their wedding party the night before because they'd done Bachelor, Bachelorette in San Juan, and then they were coming over to Jekyll Island, right? And so I get a call. This is, say, Thursday, because the welcome party was Thursday night, rehearsal dinner Friday, and wedding on Saturday. And the bride and groom, this is Thursday morning. They're calling from San Juan, and they should be flying over. And it's the groom. And he tells me what's happened. And immediately my brain's like, all right, most of your vendors will let us move the date. We're only going to have problems with catering because if they brought in materials. And he's like, oh, no, we're not canceling. Wow. Okay. I get it. If most of their guests have already flown in, like, I get it if it gets weirder. We're just not going to talk about it. We're going to pretend it didn't happen. Well, her parents were acrimoniously divorced. And her father's family was outraged. And so none of them came. But their mother's family proceeded to continue to come down. And the whole wedding weekend, it was just crazy having to run around and tell the vendors and change the schedules, get rid of the father-daughter dance. He's not walking her down the aisle now. The ceremony has to be changed from her mother and I do, and somebody else has to do this.
Yeah.
For God's sakes, take We Are Family and everything else off the playlist, right? And we couldn't talk about it. And the guy was dead. And there was really some family hostility about the whole thing because the bride and groom had to cancel their honeymoon and jump on a plane the day after their wedding to fly back to make it in for the viewing because the father's family refused to hold it for a few days till they got back. And we called it Weekend at Bernie's because there was no acknowledgement that this man had just died. There was no, I mean, I'm not a fan of when people like dress an empty chair in the sports apparel of their father's favorite teams. I mean, I respect it. I have dressed many a chair, but it's not what I would do. But this man had literally died putting his trash out to come to your wedding.
Yeah.
So that was we called that weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. Wow. Just
There's
awkward.
a dead guy in the room, but we can't talk about him.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I would have handled that with nearly the grace it sounds like you did.
I don't know how much grace I handled it with. I mean, with the bride and groom and their families, we were fine. But that's why wedding planners have radios and headsets, because we have to be able to grumble snarky things to each other so we don't kill anyone.
It's true. It's like a pressure valve. You need that. It's the same reason I love my mute button in between calls during my day job, because I have to have that pressure release so I can be nice to the next person.
Believer in and I don't do it anymore, but when I was wedding planning, I was a big believer in primal scream therapy. I would get off conference calls and I would look at the interns and I'd be like, what do you guys think? They'd be like, 1, 2, 3, ah! And that was super funny. And we did it one time when we were filming the TV show. And next thing you know, man, they are using it for in and out of every commercial. And my scream was a ringtone. My husband, I was so mad at him. He downloaded it. I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, people sometimes can't be trusted. Oh boy. Well, before we get too much further along, because we're about to the time where it's time to transition and get toward the end of the interview. So we always have the random guest from let me say that again. We always have the random question from a previous guest.
Yes.
So the last guest asked the question for you to think about your community, what you would like to see that would make it more strong, more cohesive. What kind of change would it take to get it stronger and more cohesive?
Okay, we've lived here in Georgia for 3 years now. And we love it. But there is a real problem with the healthcare system. And I would say in Southeast Georgia, which is where we are, but I've heard that it's all over the state. If you're not in a major city with a, really good hospital, you probably don't have the kind of healthcare and resources for different diseases that you need. And it's little things like our local hospital has flunked the JCO inspection the last 3 times. It went through, or 2 times, whatever. I don't want to speak inaccurately, but there's not a well-certified hospital nearby us. Now, anybody who can afford to goes down to Jacksonville to the Mayo Clinic, just like people go up to Charleston. There's different things, but not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the kind of health insurance that lets you do that. And I understand that it has a lot to do with the way the state regulations are, because in most states, the regional hospitals have all been taken over by the larger healthcare systems. Like I was from Washington, D.C., and once upon a time, Georgetown was its own hospital, and Johns Hopkins was its own hospital, and so-and-so, and it goes on. But now you've got the Adventist chain. You've got the Johns Hopkins chain. You've got MedStar, all the different things. And it seems like they fought that pretty hard in the regional areas and the counties. And I think maybe when everybody's so worried and arguing about health insurance and everything going on in DC, we don't even have the kind of doctors and testing facilities that we need in this area. People have to wait entirely too long to get the kind of health care that they need. And we need more resources for it in this region. And that is something that would make this community a lot stronger if we had a better healthcare system, because that would provide more support for the residents across the board.
Okay. I appreciate that answer. Did you have a random question for the next guest?
I do. I came up with 2 and I decided one was too weird, so we won't do it. But if you were writing your life story tomorrow, what would you title your autobiography?
would you title your life story? A very interesting question. So, as we wrap things up, I had mentioned that this specific episode is going to launch on June 27th, which is just in time, like a week or two, I think, before your next appearance. Do you want to share with our audience?
I've got a few things going on this spring because I have a grandson getting married in July, but I will be in Skipwith, Virginia at the White Oak Preserve Blueberry Festival the second weekend in July. I think that's the weekend of the 11th.
I think that sounds right.
And yes, I don't want to misspeak. On the 11th and 12th, I'll be in Skipwith, Virginia. And it is an amazing blueberry festival. And what a lot of people don't know is that Tiffany Copeland, who's now Tiffany Jones, she and her husband own the property. She's from the TV show Below Deck. That's how I know her. And she owns it, and it's neat. So it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to going to be a part of it. And I hope that anybody with a love of blueberries in the Virginia region will come join us. But also, I do lots of signings and things. And people should reach out if they've got a book club. I don't charge to come to your book club. You know, if I can work it into my travels and you're somewhere in the area or it's someplace I want to visit, invite me because that is super fun.
Nice. I hope that you get some takers on that. I'd love to hear about your adventures. You know, I have really just enjoyed having you. I can't remember the last time I had a guest where I laughed so much during an episode as we recorded it. So I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I'm hoping that our guests enjoyed as much as I did. I can't imagine that they don't. If you did enjoy this episode, please check out sandymalone.com. Please like, share with friends, you know, follow the Molten Truth on YouTube or wherever you found us. But please, you know, help us grow, and please check out Sandy's work, her books. Like I said at the beginning, I hear they're an excellent beach read and also a great gift for some friends. So please be sure to check it out.
Thank you so much for having me today.
I really enjoyed having you. Thank you, audience, for joining us. Let me see.